uh, let's make it two then. So maybe we get feedback from either Bruce or Felix, then the other feedback from either patient, Bethley, or Catherine.
Maybe Felix can take this.
Nice one. Felix?
Yes, good morning to you all.
Morning.
Can you
Morning,
get me,
Felix.
please?
Yes, we can.
Yes, yes.
Oh, yeah, yeah. So the previous session we were doing, yeah, in terms of Linux, we are trying to log in and get the login structure for a Linux based system. So we performed a number of commands just to see the logs in, and mostly we're using the command prompt in a way. Yeah, it is not like the GUI system. We were using the command prompt, and we used some commands. Yes, we use some commands to log in and see the login details of maybe if somebody logged into your system, you can check and look for threads, or you can it is always downloaded and stored within the system, because so the commands were like pwd, yeah, there was lslh before that, and cd into the folder that we created. That was the folder, and within it we were able to list all the available files within that system, within that folder, and you are able also to get uh, the priorities given to each person. Maybe a read write. Some people are given a write. Some people are given a write, and some were given a read only. So basically, we did very little about we just the initiation part, the starting part, and the commands to use during this session. Yeah, that is all. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Felix, for that. Let's go to the ladies in the house. So something different or building on top of what Felix has said. So, Patience, Catherine, or Bethley, one of you can take one for the team.
Hi,
Hi, Patience.
I think he has covered everything that we covered.
Uh, Felix has given a good general overview of what we covered, but there's still room for you building or sharing specifics in regards to what he has mentioned. Or basically, you can anything that comes to your mind as far as that is concerned, it's okay.
exactly we get to find logs, the event logs in
Betley, I think your audio is not very clear. Betley, try to just repeat your last. I didn't get it clearly.
Am I clear? I'm having some network issues. I went to the rock. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, but the voice is not really clear. There is a bit of background in it. Betley?
I have texted on the chat. I don't know if it can be seen because I
Oh,
can't talk because of the noise around.
yes. I've seen. Okay, you're not in a position to unmute. That's okay. Yes, I've seen your chat. Thank you. So I think that we should be able to proceed. So just to build on top of what Beckley and Felix have shared with us. So in the previous session, we touched on the Linux operating system. We saw the commands that you can execute. So maybe to practically show it. So one, we worked mostly with, I believe, at least 3 commands. pwd to show you your current working directory. We worked with ls, lh, which lists the file in whichever directory you're in, the files and or folders, and also it shows you the permission, it shows you additional attributes or metadata about that particular file or folder. In this case, we can see the type of object you are working with. So this KamiLimu, we see it's a directory, we see the permissions, we see the owner, the group that has permission to this folder, modification timestamp, so on and so forth. Additionally, what we also did was, apart from lslh, we had the mkdir directory command, which is used to create create folder. The other command was cd to change directory. So can say cd KamiLimu, I go into the folder, I type pwd, can now see my folder has changed. Then I type mkdir to create a folder and call it Saturday Vibes. And if we do lslh, we see now we have another folder there. The other thing we did was we looked at the logging structure of Linux, specifically where the logs are shared, where logs are stored. We also looked at the permissions as far as that logging directory is concerned, and mentioned a few logs that we'll actually be working on today. So I would like everyone, if you have not yet done this, access your virtual machine and cd to the Linux logging directory. So I'm hoping all of us now are more or less in the working directory, are more or less in the log directory for Linux. To confirm that, we can do basically pwd, and we can see we are in varlog. We can do ls to list all the files. Nothing stops you from also doing ls, switch lh, which gives you more information. So ls, and we can see all the files and directories in this folder. Now one thing you'll pick up is if you run the ls command only, it gives you the objects, but it doesn't tell you which one is a folder, which one is a directory. There are ways to pick that up. So for example, on my screen you'll see you'll see objects with the blue file, so with the blue font color or text color. All of these are folders, and everything else is a file. So one way to easily pick that up. So as mentioned last week, the main files we are going to work with were files inside the Apache folder, files inside the auth file, then we had, I believe, syslog. So mostly what you're going to work with. Up to that point, I hope all of us are on the same page. For the guys who have just joined us, karibuni sana. So question, how do we read logs in Linux? So for example, in Windows we have event viewer. What is the equivalent of that in Linux? Let me get your thoughts. If you have something to share, post it. Actually, just unmute yourself, with the exception of Bethley, who is not in a position to talk. Now recall that we had already shared materials to help us quickly learn a few things about logging Linux. So back to the question, how do you read log files in Linux? So for example, if you wanted to read auth.log, how will you go about reading that particular log file? So let's get volunteers from the class to quickly share this, and we move on. As always, one lady, one gentleman, and we proceed to the next task. So anyone?
Can I try?
Yes, please, Bruce.
So unless you're using third-party tools to view the logs, you'll have to use the terminal by displaying the contents using cat or head or less, depending on what you're looking for. But if you're trying to get a bigger picture and maybe arrange the logs present the logs in a very well-defined manner, I think you'd have to export the logs and use it in a third-party tool.
Thank you so much, Felix. So what Bruce Felix has said, you can either use tools like cat, head, more, awk, which is actually correct. We'll be going through those tools in the next few minutes. For ladies, a representative from the ladies in the house. In addition to what Bruce Felix has said, what else can we use to read, access, view log files in a Linux system?
Was I hard?
Oh yes. Oh sorry, I was on mute. Yes. Okay. I had you. I believe we all I had you. So, as what basically what Bruce Felix has said is that you can use tools like cat, head, more, etc. to read log files. He has also mentioned that if you want additional, basically better presentation, you will be required to download or access these logs from a different download them from the server or from that particular workstation and use external tool to get better statistics, reporting, or visualization. So let's get input from either Sidonia, Stacy, Patience. Let me see if Cynthia is still around. Yes. So from the three ladies are in the house. Hello? Sidonia, Stacy, Patience. Any one of you are willing to share how else you can access Linux logs? Okay, we'll still circle. I'll come to this later. So what I mentioned is we are going to be working with at least for a start, 3 log files: auth.log, syslog, and if we go into Apache folder, I will do ls switch lh Apache 2. We see that it has access and error log. So access log and error log. So your task, should you choose to accept it, which by the fact that you're in this call, more or less you have accepted it. Patience, I've just seen your chat. Yes, audit D. Interesting. Yes, audit D can also be used to view logs, or rather audit D has additional commands that allow you to view audit D logs. So more or less, yes, you're correct. I thank you for that. So our task, should we choose to accept it, is for us to get 4 volunteers who explain to us what logs are stored in auth log, what logs are stored in syslog, access log, and error log. So Bruce Felix has already shared his response with us. Felix has done that. Bethley has also done that. I believe also, who else? Should be those 3. In Patience, so those 4. So we are remaining with Derek, Sidonia, James, and Stacy. So Derek, I'm giving you error log, Sidonia access log, James syslog, and Stacy auth log. So let's spend the next 3 minutes trying to Google around, research around. Then when we resume, we'll start off with Stacy, then go to, I believe, James, then from James we'll go to Sidonia, then Derek will wrap it up for us.
Lawrence, could you repeat the question?
So the question is, for the logs I've shared on the chat and assigned you, need you guys to quickly research, Google, figure out what what their role is and what contents are stored in that particular log file. Then you'll explain to us. Make sense?
Okay.
And our 3 minutes have already started. Let's put a timer here. It should be around right now 2 minutes. So 40 seconds remaining. Okay, and our time is up. Believe we can now start. Jesse James, Sidonia, Derek. Have you guys been able to figure out something? Yes, please proceed. So just unmute yourself and proceed.
Hello.
Hi, Derek.
I hope you can hear me
Yes.
clearly. I'm not able to get much on the error log file at the moment.
Yeah.
Even with Googling, the results that I'm getting are only for the access, the syslog, those are the ones that I'm getting some vivid explanation. I'm not able to get enough information on error logs.
Okay.
But okay, I can maybe try to explain it with my logical understanding.
Just share what you've been able to get so that we'll improve on it. Sikupe wasiwasi.
Oh, okay. The match that I've been able to get is supposed to store maybe any encounters of unsuccessful executions of applications.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the match that I've been able to get so far.
Okay. Okay. We'll revisit
Yeah.
that.
Okay.
Stacy, Sidonia. James, please proceed.
You told me to check syslog. I checked access log.
Okay. No, I've not said what you're meant to check. So I was just
Oh,
calling out
okay.
if you already have the explanation.
I think I've gotten a vague one. I don't know if it's just a very vague one from Google.
It's
It's
okay.
yeah, it's access logs check. It records events related to user access to resources on the computer.
Okay.
Hey, yeah, that's what I've gotten.
No problem. Thank you. James?
For syslog, what I've gotten is that syslog stores messages from various parts of the systems, such as the kernel, the applications, and for example, messages such as the system errors, the warning, and yeah, informational messages. It stores information from the system. Yeah.
Thank you so much, James. So we have auth-log.
For auth-log, I've gotten that it records traces of authentication servers operations on the machine and describes any error conditions that it encounters. It also, I think it contains authorization information, including user logins and any authentication produced.
Stacy, thank you so much for that. So more or less, I believe Stacy and James, their definition were more or less very accurate. Definition from Derek for error log, and I believe Sidonia, if I'm not mistaken, I had some minor issues that we'll be addressing in a few. So just trying to see whether we have anything from the resources we shared that actually states this. So let's see. So this might actually be easy if we just Google. So let's start with error logs. Error logs, Linux. So it says Linux will display blah blah blah. This doesn't give us specifically what you're looking for, which more or less is correct. So if you come back to where our error logs and access logs are, then this folder Apache 2. So each folder will always contain logs that are related to it. So we know the logs are in Apache 2, which means now when we Google, we can say error logs Apache 2 Linux. And then we see the first hit we get is how to monitor your Apache logs from Logly. So let's go to it. So you get additional information here, all that, everything. Let me share this link on chat. Given that you're interested in error and access log, I'll just search for error just to save me time. Okay, so on your Linux server, you can access Apache error logs from this folder, okay, which is basically where we are. You can then log out the errors from the error log file by writing the following command, which we'll be doing later on. Does it tell us what actually error logs do? So it gives us all this information. I don't think it's actually telling us what error logs do. So it's perfectly okay. But the guide gives you additional, it will improve your understanding of logging. So let's go to the next link from DigitalOcean. So how to troubleshoot common Apache errors. We see additional information right there. Let's search for error. Let's search error.log. There we go. So Apache log files are a very useful resource for troubleshooting. Generally, any error that you receive in a browser or other HTTP client will have a corresponding entry in Apache logs. Sometimes Apache will also output errors related to configuration, built-in modules, and other debugging information to its log files. To examine log files for errors while troubleshooting Apache on a Fedora, CentOS, or Red Hat server, examine the varlog http error_log file. If you're troubleshooting a Debian or Ubuntu derived system, examine varlog Apache 2 error log. So, error log basically contains errors related to the Apache web server. So if you go on a website and that website gives you a 400, a 500, any types of errors, those errors are going to be logged into error.log file for Apache, not for any other operation. So let me also share this link. And now something just to explain for clarity for guys who have picked this up. So we have varlog httpd error_log, then we have a varlog apache 2 error.log. All of these are similar. All of them are logs that belong to the Apache web server. The only difference is when you install the Apache web server in Fedora, Cent, or Red Hat, it doesn't go by the name Apache 2. It goes by HTTPD. So that's the difference. Though the files being written to either error log or access log more or less are exactly they are very similar in structure. At times not necessarily the same, but are very similar in structure. So let's look for access.log. Let's see if we have something here. No, we don't have access logs there. So you can repeat the exact same process to figure out what access log does, as the name also is self-descriptive. So whenever you go to a website, that website logs that you have accessed it, you have accessed this URL, so on and so forth, and all of those logs will go under access.log. So I'll just take a pause. Up to that point, anyone with a question or clarification? As far as that specific aspect of logging is concerned. Okay, we seem to be okay. So for auth-log, Stacy was on point. James was also on point as far as a syslogger is concerned. So in our previous session, there is a command we used, and I believe also Bruce Felix hinted to this command called cat. So what?
Hey, Lawrence.
Yes, please, James.
On LR log, what are some of the examples of an error that can be recorded in, for example, Apache?
Okay, so I'm actually heading there.
Okay.
Yes. So now we have an understanding of what some of these logs do. Not all of them, but some. So what I'll recommend is spend some time and just go through these particular log files to understand what they actually contain. Now, to read log files, Bruce Felix, I see you say none. So kindly elaborate on that. To read log files in Linux out of the box doesn't have an event viewer. Patience mentioned Audit D. Audit D also does not come with Linux out of the box. It's an additional package you have to install and configure. However, Linux comes with some utilities that you can use to monitor or to read your log files. At times, you'll end up using all of these utilities or only one of them. So in the next session, what we'll be doing is we'll be covering some of those utilities. I'm going just to list them down. Let me put them on the chat. So the first utility is going to be cat, and by utility I mean just commands. So we'll do cat, then more, then less, then tail. Let me see if there's any that I'm forgetting. Yes, cat, more, less, and tail should be enough. I'm quickly going to do a rundown of them practically, then I'll give you guys maybe 10 to maybe 15 minutes just play around with the commands and try to figure them out. So the first command is cat. C-A-T. Cat is used to read the output of a file, all of the output of a file. So if your file has a, let me rephrase this and let me give additional context. Log files are basically text files, very simple text files. Now cat is one of the command that will easily give you the output of any text file you have. So it basically reads everything in that file and prints it on your screen. Let's do that practically by looking at the auth log. So I'll say cat, then auth.log. So I'm just typing the name of the file. A trick here you can do is type cat. We already know the file name we want to use is auth.log. So I can type cat, then I'll start typing the first letter of the file I'm interested in. It's this particular file, right? Auth.log. So I can type auth, I can type A, and if you press tab, Linux will try to autocomplete that command for you. So if there's only one command, if there's only one file that starts with A, then when you press tab, Linux autocompletes it for you. If there are multiple files, then just tap on tab, then Linux will give you all files that start with A. So you can see we have alternatives, we have Apache, APT, auth.log. So I can type AU, I press tab, and now if I type AU, if you type AU and you press tab, it autocompletes for you auth.log. If you press tab again, it gives you the option to decide which one do you want to go with. If I press 1 and tab, it will complete and give me auth.log.1. So what I typically do is I type cat, then AU, enter, tab, it out completes for me. Does that make sense to everyone? It's a common trick I typically use just to ensure I'm not typing the whole of that particular file name. So cat auth.log, you press enter, and now we see everything in that particular file. So more or less you can just scroll down and you will be able to see the contents of that particular file. So let me copy this, paste it here. So something to note here is that at times the operating system you are using might give you a different output. So for example, I believe Red Hat CentOS-based operating system might not have cat.log. They will have a file called secure.log, which is now the equivalent of auth.log. Yes, so some systems, I believe Red Hat based system won't have auth.log. They will have secure.log. Same file, just different name based on the distribution. So if you press cat, you should be able to see something similar to this. So I'm just going to stop here and give guys a moment to at least do this. If you can't do this, if you don't have auth.log, please let me know in the chat, and more than happy to help you identify the right file that you're meant to use. So I'm just pausing for a few seconds, then we proceed. Okay, I don't see anyone with any issues, so we should be able to proceed. So one of the disadvantages you will realize with cat is that if your file is too long, then you really have to scroll down. You really have to scroll down to try figure out what you are looking for. cat is typically ideal for a file that does not have a lot of entries, a lot of lines. If that file has a lot of lines, maybe you want to use a different command. The next command you are going to go with is more. So more, same thing, auth.log. And now, let me give guys just a few seconds to also type that before I continue with the explanation. So the beauty with more is that more does not give you posts for you. More doesn't post everything for you on the page. It posts only enough content to cover your page, and you basically now scroll through that particular content. It's like progressively reading a page. So Cat will give you everything that is in the book in one go. More will give you one page at a time, and as you press enter, it continues to introduce new lines for you, which makes it easier for you to read and process that particular content. At the top bottom left, you can actually see the percentage. It tells you the percentage that you have consumed. So at the moment, you have consumed 75% of this particular log file. So I can continue pressing enter and just slowly go through each line one at a time, each line one at a time, each line one at a time. Also, let me see. So it seems that more uses more words, unlike cat that uses values. Not necessarily. So all of them are giving you the same exact output or the same exact content that are in that particular file. The only difference is cat will give you everything in one go. Then you have to manually scroll your screen up and down to make sense of that particular log file. Less more, on the other hand, will only give you fraction of the content of that particular file at any moment based on your screen size. Then you need to press enter to start adding additional content from that particular file, which can be user friendly to certain users. But all of them are giving you the exact same content. The difference is how they're giving you that content. More is giving you chunks of that content. Cat is giving you everything at a go. Bruce Felix, I hope that answers you.
Yes, I get that part. But actually, I meant the wording and how it displays the content compared to more and cat.
Yeah.
More, it's easily readable than cat.
Yes,
in terms
yes,
of,
yes.
you see, I have February 8th, but when you get to cat, it displays the dates in values only.
Interesting. Let's see. No, it should be the same.
Then I'm getting a different thing.
You see, so my cat is basically giving me February, blah blah blah, and more should also give you the exact same thing.
Let me post an example of cat.
Okay.
And more. Cat.
Yeah. Yes. Probably might have an idea. Okay.
And that is more.
Okay.
It's slightly different.
Yes. I get your point. So one other thing to note is that specifically for, I think I've noticed this with Kali and probably other platforms. So other platforms try to make content more readable for you by out of the box adding additional refinement to some of these tools. So for example, they'll have a tool like More doing other things in the background to make content more readable for the end user. In which case, yes, Bruce Felix, you're right. In this case, you see, More is giving us better readable content than Cat. And also this by extension offers a very good insight in that at times if you want to see the raw content of a file, then use Cat. It doesn't alter your content, it basically gives you what is in that specific file. Now, something to note is that all of these commands typically have additional options. So if I do cat switch H, let me see if cat has help. Yes. So if you type cat, and this you can do for any command in Linux. So for cat, less, blah, all of those. It gives you additional outputs that you can add to that command to basically make things appear more user-friendly. So let's see if there's anything we can borrow from here. Okay, let's see. Cat switch B, what does it do? So cat switch B gives us a count of let me rephrase this correctly. Cat switch B assigns each entry a number. So for example, we know that this particular log entry, this particular line is being given number 1. This particular line here is number 10. So the beauty of this is if you're collaborating with anyone, you can easily tell them, I've sent you a log file, look at the log entry number 32, and they'll know exactly what you're referring to. So for any Linux command, if you want to know additional options, so for example ls, you can type ls double hyphens, then just enter help, and you'll be given all these additional information or additional options you can add to the ls command to refine your output, or to refine the output. So done with cat, done with more. Let's go with less. Let's see what does less do. So less, same thing with cat, only difference is less will load pages for you. Let me see. Now actually less does the same thing with similar to more. I believe the difference with less here is you can search this particular file. So let's see. So let's quit it, type less, and let's say we were looking for something like SSH. So type /SSH, enter, and now I can easily see all the occurrences of SSH. So that's one thing I love with using less command. More or less similar functionality with more, but allows you to also search the text that is being displayed on your screen. To navigate the files, you just press enter, and it will progressively load additional content for you. And once you're done, you press Q and you close that file. Any questions up to that point? Okay.
I have one,
Yes, yes, Bruce
but,
Felix.
but I think maybe you might mention it later. Let's say you're looking for a specific log. You
Yes,
see the way we're doing event viewer, let's say you're looking for a successful log on that is ID 4624. Let's say
yes,
you're also looking for that in Linux. How
yes.
do you filter out that specific log for that particular entry?
So I think we'll still come to that. So the first thing in Linux you always have to know is which file has the logs you're looking for. If those logs are related with anything about authenticating into the system, similar to the 46 24 logs, all of those logs will be saved under auth.log. If you're logging into the system, either via SSH, I think FTP, from GUI trying to log in. So for example, from GUI, what I mean is from this side here. So if I log out and I need to log in, all of these, be it successful, failed, will be stored under auth.log. So first you always need to know which log file has what you are looking for. Then once you know that, then the analysis starts. We'll still come to back, we'll circle back to that I think in the next few minutes.
Okay, thank you.
James, please.
So I also have a question, but based on curiosity. So from the logs, like from my when I did the cat command,
Yes.
I'm getting results from Feb 5th. So what about logs from 5 months ago? How do I get them?
Okay, let me finish tail and I'll circle back to that also. Just hold on. Now, the last command I'm going to touch on is tail. Tail is used to read, by default, I believe, the last 10 latest entries of whichever log file you are working with. So for example, if you're investigating people who are logging into your Linux machine at the moment, tail is a better command to use. So let's actually do that practically. Okay, I'll hide one of my screens. So what I'm going to do is with tail, you type tail, the log file you want it to read, you press enter, and it gives you the last should be 10 entries of that particular file. If you notice that when I logged in a few minutes ago, that was 10:14, so my time is slightly skewed. Let's see what time it is. It is 20. It is 8:16, which more or less is 8 here. So the time is slightly skewed, but it's 8:16. This log was captured at 8:14, which was more or less the time I was logging into this platform using GUI without having to SSH in. So you see, tail was able to capture those commands, those actions for me. So I want to just repeat. I want the last 10 entrants, tail. I can still use cat and scroll down to get everything I need. I can still use more to achieve that. Scroll down to everything I need. I can still use less to do that, but tail is more efficient when you're only interested in the last XYZ entries. Now, tail can also continuously monitor the file for you. So for example, if we want to continuously monitor the auth.log file, tail will do that for you. And what you want to do is you want to type tail switch is the hyphen, and say F. So what this tells tail is follow this file, which is basically telling tail to actively monitor this file in real time. So if we do that and press enter, we still get the last 10 entrants, and now any operation that is going to happen where the auth.log file is updated, I will see it in near real time. So let me show you that practically. So right now I've accessed this terminal, I've SSH'd into this particular host. I'm going to try to SSH into it again, but now using a different approach. I'll use PowerShell. So just simulating someone else trying to log into that particular server. Aim here is to see how tail is continuously updating that file. So I'll start with failed authentication. So SSH, I use the right name but with wrong password. So SSH, I'm typing now the wrong password, I press enter, and you see an entry was captured for me. So authentication failure, all those blah blah blah. Important thing here to note is important thing to note here is authentication failure, login ID 0, UID 0, remote host is this IP. So this is the IP I'm trying to log in. If I was a malicious attacker, this will be the IP of that attacker and the username this user is trying to use. And I get another entry telling me that 1, I have failed password for user low from this particular IP. I'm only getting that because tail is actively monitoring that particular file. And now I've disconnected my attempt and I still get another entry. If I do that with a user that does not exist, low 2, we'll get exact same logs. You see, invalid user, low 2. Random password, same thing. Authentication failure, failed password for invalid user. So with tail continuously monitors the output for you, and it can give you that output in real time. And once you want to stop it, you press Ctrl+C to end that particular command. And you can still view all those information with cat more or less, only that tail is more efficient and updates that you can see in real time, updates to that particular file. Now remember, we're meant to get a bit 15 minutes or so to play around with this. I haven't forgotten, those minutes are coming. Now to answer questions raised by let me say, I think it was James and Bruce. So let me start with the James. So if we come to ls.lh, do ls.lh. Let's actually do ls.lh for auth. I've pressed tab. You'll notice that we have auth.log, auth.log.1. What Linux does in a technique called log rotation, Linux after every 24 hours or after a predefined amount of days or hours, it will compress your log files. Compressing your log file basically means that Okay, I'm still audible. My machine glitched for a minute. So what Linux does under log rotation is that it will compress your log files to reduce the log size, because log files can really take a lot of time, and also give you a new file with only contents for maybe that specific day. So for example, if you go to auth.log, in most cases you'll find that it mostly has events for this specific day and maybe a few events for the previous day, which basically means Linux has done log rotation. And whenever log rotation is done, a new file with the previous day's content, or the previous contents, is generated. That's why we have auth.log.
Excuse me, Lawrence.
Yes, please.
You broke off in the past few seconds, so can you kindly repeat what you said?
Okay. So what I was saying was, answering the question James raised, what if you want to see logs done 15 months ago, 1 year ago, even 3 weeks ago? That was basically mentioning that Linux has what you call log rotation. Log rotation is responsible for compressing old log files and generating a new log file with recent logs. When log rotation happens, what Linux will do is it will create a new file, either a zipped file or basically a new file, and append additional contents at the end of the file. So for example, this is a good example. We have auth.log that contains the latest log entries, and we have auth.log.1 which contains previous entries. How can we know this? If you do ls/lh auth.log, okay, it will show us only one file, but recall we have multiple files here. We have auth.log, auth.log.1. If you want to see everything, you can just type ls/lh auth.log and say at the end type star. So what this tells Linux is that display for me everything that matches this pattern, and the pattern here is auth.log. So as long as that file or directory has auth.log, Linux will display everything. So that's just a trick you can use when you want to only show files that meet a specific criteria. So if I do that, and now I have all my files, all those 2 files, and as you can see, auth.log updated. We have a time here of February 8th, and if I'm not mistaken, February 8th was when we had our last session. Then we now have other file that was written in January 25th. So the January 25th file will in most cases have the previous logs. And that brings me to another command. Now, remember tail shows you entries of the latest entries, last 10 entries. There is another command called head. Head will show you the top entries of that particular file. So for example, we can type head auth.log.1 to see when did that file start getting events. And if we do that, we see that auth.log, the oldest entries, or the oldest logs are from January 18th. If you type tail on the same command, on the same log file, the last entries are from January 25th. So probably January 25th is when log rotation happened, and we started getting new logs. If we type head for auth.log, which should be the latest file, we see that it only has entries from February. So there is a disconnect there. Let me see. So 25th. So the last logs here are from 25th. Then the latest logs are also from, the latest log are now from 28th. In a typical production system, you're not going to get these. In my case, we have this discrepancy. This discrepancy can either be caused by the fact that one, after January 25th, I basically shut down my machine, put it in a saved state, and nothing was happening. And I only started it on 8th. That's why you see the last log are when I shut down my machine, and the latest logs when my machine was booted up. So that's one way for you to get the previous log files. There is another way. If we do ls here, you will realize that for syslog, it has syslog.1, then syslog.1, syslog.2.gz. Same approach. It basically means that these last 3 log files have been compressed. These 2 have not been compressed. So syslog is the latest file, syslog.1 is the latest log rotated file, then these other ones are all the ones that have now been further compressed. These 2 have not been compressed. These 3 have been compressed just so that the system can save space. So if you want to see the oldest one, then you'll have to come to each log file. Unfortunately for Linux, if you're accessing the logs directly, you'll have to come to each log file and zip it and try to get its content. Now, there are tools that will help you access these contents without having to unzip it. Actually might be a good takeaway task for if you're interested in figuring out how you can effectively visualize these. Now, we might all be thinking, it's all gloom, it's so hard. Yes, it can be harder with Linux, and that's the reason why I believe someone mentioned this. Don't know if it was Derek or who. If you want now improved reporting, improved statistics, in most cases, we talk of a SIEM, a security information and event management system, which is able to pick all these log files, put them somewhere, and give you the ability to easily go back 3 months, 4 months, 1 year from now. Later on stage, we'll actually be able to see how SIEM's log management solution actually come and which role they play in this particular space, especially when you're interested in visualizing logs. Okay, I hope I've answered that question. The last question I want to answer, yes, Bruce.
A follow-up question on the same.
No.
Does the log rotation happen automatically, or one has to do it?
Yes, it happens automatically. So let me show you the path where log rotation is configured. Log rotate. So everything you want to know about log rotation will be there. So you can open, we can cut the log rotate configuration file, and here you can see that log rotation is done weekly. Then I think for this particular system, it's only keeping 4 weeks worth of backlogs. So the oldest you can go back is a month's worth of logs. You can change this to as many weeks as you want. Anything else? Yes. So more or less you can see that that is the main configuration file. There is another directory, so here log rotate switch D, which now has additional information. So for example, as syslog, Apache, they have their own log rotation configuration. So if we go to Apache, you see that for Apache, logs are rotated daily. Let me see. No, rotation is 14. When rotation is done, compression is done, blah blah blah, all those information. Fortunately or unfortunately, this is typically what is done from a system administration point of view. As a SOC analyst, very good for you to know, because if you're investigating an incident and you can't figure why you can't find logs for the last 2 months, if you know where to look for or to look at, you'll just go to log rotate and figure out, this system only stores logs for 1 month. Then you make your recommendation. So it's always good for anyone in SOC to also have a very good understanding of system administration, both Linux and Windows based. There are online resources that do a deep dive in regards to configuring, editing, modifying, and improving log rotation. Bruce Felix, I hope that has answered you.
Yes, it has answered.
Okay, so let's go to the Apache folder for the last question that was asked. Do an ls. So if you want to see contents in the Apache folder, so one thing you'll notice is that our access log is 0, because probably we have not accessed anything on Apache. So let's use the head command to visualize access.log, access.log.1, and this is the content we get. So I'll just copy part of this content, put it on the chat box. You can copy that content, open it with your notepad. So for example, for this content, very briefly, so that I also give you guys time to play around. For this content, it's telling us the IP that accessed our Apache or our web server. It's telling us the date this was done. It's telling us the HTTP method, which is GET, that was used, and it's telling us which file was accessed. Then we can see the protocol, we can see the response code, we can see this is typically the size of this particular transmission. Then we can see the user agent. Suggestion here is, I will mention this briefly, but I will recommend you create some time and look at Apache logging or Apache logging structure. It will do a very good job breaking down all these fields for you. That is the access log. Remember, access log I used to show you who has accessed your website or whichever web application might be running on Apache. If we do exact same thing for error log, remember error is meant to show you errors. So let's go to error.1. For error.1, one thing it will tell us is, it will tell us whenever Apache is restarted, the server is restarted. So you can see here that the Apache server was restarted. Let's see if we have any errors. So head is only giving me a few lines. So let's see whether we can get more entries there. So I'm just looking, I see the files are very small, so you might not have a lot there. So let's say cut so that we can see everything. and nothing much as far as error is concerned. It's basically the error we have here, code sig term shutting down, basically tells us that Apache server was stopped. Then we can see here it was also, it resumed normal operation, meaning that it was started again. So I'm trying to figure out how I can show the error here. So maybe let's use this file. So for this file, it is zipped. You can see because it has gunzip. It has the GZ, which stands for gunzip. To unzip it, first, good practice is when you are playing or you want to modify log files, always copy them. Don't work on the original log files. Even changing configuration, don't work on the original configuration unless you are very sure of what you are doing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy my error log .4 and copy it to my home folder. Then use cd command to go to my home folder. ls, I should be able to see it. Then say gunzip, then error log. If I do ls, I should now see my file right there. And let's see, let's try read it. Yes. And if we try read it now, it has more content, but does it have any errors? Nothing much, because for this particular web server, apparently there are no errors that were encountered. But if there are any errors that could have been encountered, this was where they would have been stored. Now, with that, as I mentioned, I'd like to we have been at this for the last 1 hour 40 minutes. So I would like to do us a favor. Allow us to go on a 10 minutes break from 10:50 to 11. As we go on the break, so before we go on the break, allow us to use the next 10 minutes, 10:40 to 10:50, to play around with the tools I just mentioned. Pick the logs, try to play around with them, see the output you are getting, then we'll proceed. So I'll just share those tools again. And also, as that is happening, I will be copying some of my log files. I will share them with you so that when we resume, we'll now start doing use cases and doing analysis, just to ensure that we don't have this particular monologue. So play around with those tools. I'll start the timer just to let us know when we are meant to come back. Then after that, I'll just mute and be on the background. Before I do that, I welcome any questions before we take the break. For the guys who had asked previous questions, I hope I have been able to answer them. Okay, so timer started. I don't see any questions, so I'll proceed and go on mute and see you guys in the next 19 minutes and 46 seconds. Thank you. Resume recording. So I wait for my WeTransfer to load. So I'm uploading the files on WeTransfer, which will make it maybe slightly easier. Okay, so I have the WeTransfer link with me. Let me put it on chat, and we see how easily we can share these files. So we have the WeTransfer link. So Sidonia, for you, you can just actually copy the WeTransfer link to your Kali machine.
So I just copy the link to the Firefox.
Yes, the Firefox. Open it on Firefox. Then Berkeley just coming to you in a few minutes.
Okay.
So let's see if it loads. Sidonia, let us know if it loads. So going back to Berkeley, so I see Bruce Felix has also shared hints. Additionally, what you can do is on your machine, on your Windows machine, open PowerShell. Actually, even an easier way to do this, so go where you have go into the folder where, let me share my screen. I cannot. So for basically anyone who is trying to figure out, there are different ways to go about it. So the most straightforward way is go to where your folder where you downloaded the file. So in my case, the file was downloaded here. This is my folder. Then once you are here, go to the title bar at the top here and just type PowerShell. So this will open PowerShell in this directory or in this folder. So guys, am I audible? Okay, yeah, because Google was telling me my mic is malfunctioning. Good. So for anyone who is having issues transferring the files, let me know once you are able to open PowerShell in your folder. If you are able, let's copy some guy and just type done. So if you're able, if you have opened PowerShell in your folder, the right folder, just type done on the chat. I'll repeat the process. Go to the location you downloaded your file on Windows. Once you're there, just type on your on the address bar PowerShell and press enter. PowerShell should open on your machine. A PowerShell window should open on your machine. So if you're done, PowerShell has opened, please type done. If you're having issues, please also let me know.
They use PowerShell as well.
No, for you, Sidonia, no. This won't work for you because the machine you're using is not it's not on your host. So for you, Sidonia, specifically, open Firefox and open the link we shared, the WeTransfer link, and download the file from there.
So I have
Okay.
done that. I have copied, but I don't know how to paste onto the. It's not pasty.
Okay, just hold on there. Takufikia. So let me see. Boaz, are you okay? I saw that you said you had a similar issue. Okay, so I'm hoping. Okay, so let me repeat again the PowerShell side.
Okay.
So the first thing you have to do is go to where your file was downloaded, where you downloaded the file. That particular folder, go to the address bar and just type PowerShell. PowerShell. Once you have typed PowerShell, press enter. A new window should open on your screen, a PowerShell window. So that window will be similar to this. So patience, let me know if you're okay now. I just typed done if you're okay. Great.
Hello.
Yes, please.
I was requesting Betty to kindly share the online platform she's using because I kind of have the same problem. Like my laptop, like couldn't support, but
Oh,
it
I
could
think
support Windows, but the Linux couldn't.
I think you mean Sidonia. Sidonia, if you can share the platform you're using.
Okay.
The online platform.
I've put it on chat.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so for the guys who are going with this approach, we are going to share a command you can use to transfer file. The command is scp. So just follow along the commands first, then I'll paste the command and break it down. So scp, then we specify the file we want to copy. So in my case, it's just one file. So I just pressed tab because I pressed tab and Windows was able to complete for me the file. If you have too many files, just start typing the name of that file and press enter, then Windows more or less should auto-complete it for you. Once you've done that, enter the username of the remote machine. So mine was slow. Then at that symbol, then your IP of that remote host. I believe it's 200. Then full colon, then the directory. So for the directory, for majority of you, it will be KamiLimu. So it will be something similar to this. Home, your username, then KamiLimu. So copy it, put it there. So just go ahead and see what I already have here. I will remove this file. So see, my KamiLimu directory now doesn't have that file. So this command, I typically like adding switch v for it to show me logs. So let me copy it and break it down. Sorry, not that. That is the command, the scp command. So we are saying scp is for secure copy, switch v is used to show you logging information so that if there's any error, it's easy for you to understand. Then this part here is the file name we want to copy. Then right here we have my SSH username. So SSH username at then the IP of my host, then where I want to copy this file. So I'll just confirm that I'm using the right IP. It is 0.200. 0.200 is okay. Then once I'm done, I press enter. It will give you a lot of information, debug information, then ask you for a password. So enter the password that you use to log into that other machine, the remote machine you are connecting to, the low at 192.168. So of course slow is going to be different, the IP is also going to be different for you, so ensure you update that with the right IP. The thing you want to watch out for is the exit status needs to be 0, meaning that it has successfully transferred that particular file. If you get anything that is not 0, look at your last couple of lines and you'll be able to see where the issue is. So I'll just pause there for maybe 3 minutes to give guys time to catch up. If you're having issues, please let me know. As that is happening, Sidonia, you can share your screen. We try see whether you can also replicate similar thing on your end. Sidonia, waiting for you. Catherine, if your virtual machine is making your laptop to lag, it's a resource issue. So what you can do to help you is share your RAM for the host, RAM you have given for the VM, then share what else, number of a CPU that you have also given to your guest versus what you have on the host. For the guys using the PowerShell approach, this is a SCP approach. Once you're successful, just type done. How will you know if you're successful? Once you get exit status 0, if you go to the folder you specified and just type ls/lh, you should be able to see your file. I hope that helps someone out there as we wait for Sidonia, Boaz to update us on their progress, and Catherine to also share a bit of information.
Lawrence, you told me to copy the link you sent to the Firefox, but I'm having trouble copying and pasting from my machine to the terminal I've opened. I don't know.
Can you share your screen?
Yes, I can.
Please do.
So there is the screen.
Okay. And it's not allowing you to copy, right?
Is my
To paste.
I think that is it visible?
Oh yes, I can see it.
Okay. So I was trying to copy.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to copy it from the chat to the but
browser.
when I copy I can't paste.
The paste is more or less empty.
Yeah.
So unfortunately what that means is you have to type that link manually.
Okay, then
yes.
That's fine.
So just try to type it manually. Be aware of let me see. This looks more or less straightforward. I see an area where I'm not sure if it's a capital I or small L. So just be aware of those small issues.
Okay. Let me try that when.
Yeah. Okay, no worries. Okay, let me see if everyone else is okay. Bethany, are you okay now? Okay, meaning that you have been able to transfer the file.
No, Lauren. I've not been able to. Trying Bruce Felix's idea of enabling sharing, then dragging and dropping. But even after Googling how we do that, I couldn't see in the setting sides of the VM where I could get like enable. Then I think while you are explaining the one for PowerShell,
yes,
I think my network was a bit hazy. So when I got back to it, I didn't quite follow. So that's why I was now trying the one on the chat. And I don't think I'm making much progress. I thought I'd figure this out, but I'm not really figuring it out well.
No worries. So, one, the approach shared by Felix is good. It won't always work depending on the type of workstation you're using. If you're using a server, copy and drag won't work for you. Then secondly, those settings need to be done before you boot your machine. So if you do them on a machine that is currently running, you'll have to shut it down, restart it for it to be effective. So probably this might be the reason why you are facing a challenge. However, the SCP command should always work. So I'll walk you through it again. You are able to open the PowerShell prompt, right?
Yes.
Okay. Do you know the IP of your host? Of your virtual machine?
No.
Okay. Do you have SSH access to your virtual machine?
No, as well.
Okay. Your virtual machine is running, right?
Yes.
Okay, so access your virtual machine. So I'm guessing you're accessing something similar like this. So open your terminal and type IPADDR. Now let me know once you have typed the command. Patients, I'll be coming to you in a few minutes. So basically, you can actually utilize the chat option. So let me know once you have done, typed IPADR, and just say done. Should be okay. If you can unmute yourself. So I see Betty has dropped. Okay, so let's go to Patience. I saw your hand was up.
For the PowerShell method,
yes, please.
Does it require VirtualBox, the VM?
Yes, you need to have a VM running.
Okay.
And you need to have your Kali machine running. Unless you need to have your Linux machine running, unless you already have access to that machine.
So I am trying this one for, is it Sidonia?
Yeah.
The online one.
Also, your Kali machine, your Linux machine is also making your instance slug.
Yeah, I can't use the VM, whatever. So nimejaribu hii the online one, but I can't find my way around it.
Yes, so for the online one, the PowerShell approach won't work. For the online one, you basically have to download the file. You basically have to type the WeTransfer link I shared earlier on the browser, then download the file. Let's see if Sidonia has been able to do that, so that she can share her screen. Sidonia, have you been able?
I think I copied it all wrong. I'm not sure if the eyes are else, so let me try them with eyes.
No worries. So Sidonia, the trick you can do is just copy that file on your text pad, then just type it first to figure out if it's an I or if it's an L.
Okay.
It might be easier that way.
Okay.
Oh, but it's actually an I, a capital I and a small L. So after capital Q, it's capital I.
Yeah, QI, then it's an L, then the end is an I.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that should hopefully work.
Let me try now.
So as that is happening, advice for everyone working on their virtual machine. Let me see. Someone said their machine was slow. Let me try remember who that was. Boaz, was your machine also slow? Your host machine?
Oh no, mine actually stopped. I had an AMD issue.
An AMD issue?
Yeah.
Huh. The host or the virtual machine? Boaz?
Like for the host machine.
So your host machine basically crashed?
Yeah.
Okay. So probably need to fix that. Okay, so I see Catherine has a total memory of 4 GB. Out of this 4 GB, you have assigned your virtual machine 12, more or less 2 GB. Where can the issue be? Okay, so for Catherine, what you want to do is you want to open your task. First of all, what you want to do is shut down VirtualBox in that machine, in that virtual machine. Once you have shut it down, and this is for everyone, if your machine is slow, first of all, shut it down. Shut the virtual machine completely down. once you have shut down your virtual machine, next thing you want to do is you want to go to your task manager. To reach your task manager, you can basically on Windows program search for task manager and open it. It will be something similar to this or slightly different. Once your task manager is running, we need to go to, let me see, performance. Then under performance, we need to figure out how to know the memory you have, free memory you have. So in my case, I see this is my memory tab. So memory, then down here, I'll be able to see the memory in use, then I'll be able to see available memory. So for Catherine, once you've shut down your host, your virtual machine, even close down VirtualBox, please share with us the free or available memory you have. Bethany, I see you're back. Let me know if you can proceed with from where we were.
Lawrence, what am I checking again in the memory?
Give me a minute. My machine is glitching on me and showing me weird things. I hope it's also not showing you weird things. Okay, so that was okay. Who just spoke? Not sure if it was Sidonia, Betty, or Catherine. Sorry, I was on mute. I repeat the question again. Hello?
Yes, what am I checking under memory in the task manager?
So you want to check your free memory. Let me load up my task manager again. So you want to check available memory.
From my machine, it's 2.1 GB.
Okay, that's your available memory, right?
Yes.
Okay, which basically means the amount of memory you give to your machine, your virtual machine, RAM, should be less than 2.1. What I typically recommend is the amount of memory you give to your virtual machine should be half of your available memory. So which means the maximum memory you can give your machine is ideally 1 GB. So that should probably improve it. Now, the next thing, when you are setting up your virtual machines. So if you have not done this, I'll recommend you do it. Do not install do not install workstation. Always install servers. Reason for this is that servers typically use less resources. A server will run very good with less than a GB of RAM. Ubuntu Workstation won't be able to do that. It won't be able to do that. So if by any chance you install the Ubuntu Workstation, I'll say remove it and you go to server. So how do you download a server? Basically say download Ubuntu server 22.04. So let's go there, and here it is, download Ubuntu server. Then just go ahead and download that particular Ubuntu server. So it will open a link for you to do that particular download. Download it and set it up. It will use very minimal resources. But for now, Catherine, you can try giving your virtual machine just 1 GB of RAM, and hopefully it runs without lagging your host. I hope that helps.
Yes, it does.
Okay. And that also applies to anyone else who is having issues with their machines, hanging or freezing or making the host lag. Sidonia, have you been able to make any progress? So I was waiting for feedback from Sidonia. Bethley, are you in a position to update us?
I just gotten back. I am trying to power up my VM, which is taking a bit of time.
Okay.
So that's where I am.
Lawrence, I've managed. Sorry.
No worries. Sidonia, you can proceed.
I've managed to copy the link exactly. It's the WeTransfer, but it's not opening. It's a blank page. But when I put it on my normal Chrome, it opens. So I don't know what the problem is.
I probably have a feeling. So at times, these online resources, at times they basically don't allow you to download things from those machines, just to ensure that you're not using the infrastructure to download and set up malware and attack other users or other devices on the internet. So that gives us a very interesting dilemma on how to proceed with this. Okay, so I don't really like this approach I want to use, because you see, the next tasks require us to practically interact with our hosts and do those investigations. So I can say, okay, let me just show it to you guys, and we'll be able to figure it out. But from experience, I know that is not going to be very effective. So what to do? Just to ensure you're not leaving anyone behind. We find ourselves in quite a pickle, quite an interesting dilemma between a wall, a rock, and a hard place. Now, thinking out loud, the alternatives we can use is try to achieve this using Notepad. That won't really be effective, because for this we actually, I see my mic has also gone off. Let me see. Please let me know if I'm still audible. Hello? Okay, I should be audible now. So it's basically saying that we are in a quite interesting sorry guys. My audio keeps acting up. I hope I'm audible now. Okay. So what I was saying was what? And apologies, I'll hear my baby crying in the background due to me connecting on the phone. So in an interesting situation, because it seems that a good number of us are not able to adequately and effectively access their virtual machines and participate in this exercise. Definitely we can decide to proceed, but proceeding with the current approach is going to disadvantage a majority of us, which then makes all of the effort guys we are putting into this, coming to these calls, makes that whole process ineffective. So it's trying to figure out a way of doing this. That I'm open to suggestions. Right now I don't see a very viable solution that ensures that majority of the guys in this call actually get to learn something today. Now the beauty of today is I'm hoping that you have been able to learn a few things about log management, but the core task for today was us being actually able to do what? Being able to physically interact with those machines. So I have a radical suggestion. One, I will communicate this to the KamiLimu team. We figure out a way of effectively doing the practical sessions. So for example, CTF room can give us the ability to host these virtual machines online. If we get anyone from the team, from the KamiLimu committee, that can also give us access to a virtual environment, so Azure, AWS, all those, very desirable, but those are things we can't do at the moment. So what I want to suggest we do during the remaining hour or so is to jump on something that I wanted to do it at a later point, but we can do it now. The project, what we should be, or